Welcome to a Noble Day 2020. My name is Miriam Duran, and I'm the Alumni Supports Manager at UIC College Prep. I'm now excited to introduce to you Constance Jones, Chief Executive Officer of the Noble Network. Constance, or CJ, as most of us know her by, was named CEO in November of 2018 and brought with her an extensive experience in education and business. In 2019, CJ was named Crain's Chicago Business 40 Under 40 list, highlighting her leadership, dedication to education in Chicago. CJ is a graduate of the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and Harvard University. Welcome, CJ.
Thank you, Miriam.
CJ will be sitting down with Lisette Hernandez, president of the Noble Alumni Association, to discuss Noble's current strategy and priorities. Welcome, CJ and Lisette.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Miriam, for that wonderful introduction. Before we get started, I want to turn to the audience, acknowledge our alumni here, and encourage you to engage with our Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. As CJ and I discuss, we ask that you submit questions that you want either herself or myself to answer at the end. So let's jump in. So CJ, 2020 has been a whirlwind within itself. We are in the middle of a pandemic. There's been a heavily watched election, and even more light has been shed on the injustices in our society. What is Noble's plan and role in all of this? What are in the works to support our families, students, alumni, and staff?
Thank you, Lisette, for that question. And as Lisette said already, welcome. I am so happy to have you all here, and I appreciate you all taking this time to come together as a community. And I really look forward to your questions. So please feel free to submit your questions throughout this conversation. You know, as Lisette mentioned, if anyone had asked any of us in 2019, literally just a year ago, like if we could ever imagine, you know, that this would be 2020, all the things that have happened. I mean, this is just something that, you know, no one could have made up. It has been an incredibly hard year in countless ways. And I don't think many people are immune for that. I know I felt that personally. I've felt that professionally. And one of my greatest challenges has been leading Noble during two pandemics, COVID-19 and the pandemic of racism in our country and in Chicago specifically. And, you know, I have to go back before I go forward to 2018 when we first started our 5-year strategic planning process. That was within the first few months of me becoming CEO. I just felt like it was really important for us to just set the vision of how we should evolve in service to our students and alumni and all the folks we serve over the next 5 years. And after talking to hundreds of students, alums, parents, and other people, one of the things that came out loud and clear is that we needed to work really, really hard to provide positive and equitable experiences and outcomes for the people we serve. And we need to support our students on the path of their choice. And so already I have to say I'm really grateful that when we started this school year, and this is before the pandemic and everything that we've experienced in 2020, when we launched the school year in fall of 2019 after completing that strategic plan process, we were already going in with this mindset that we have to do a better job of providing more equitable outcomes and a more positive student experiences. And I can tell you that as a woman of color, I truly believe that it is important for us to make sure that we're creating spaces where our students, where our staff, or anyone who shows up in our buildings feels loved and appreciated, and that we're truly filling their cups, because they're going to need that as they go out into the world and, you know, attempt to tackle all of the things and barriers that are going to be in your way. But nevertheless, this pandemic has, like, it's nothing any of us could have prepared for. We have seen tremendous sickness within the Noble community. I have seen sickness within my personal family, COVID-19. There has been the loss of jobs. There has been, food insecurity. There has just been severe trauma from everything that is happening. And I'll talk about, the COVID-19 before I get to race, because that's equally important. But I have to say that I think the test of any relationship is when you're going through a really, really tough time. And one of the things that I have to say is, and that's any relationship, but that's like your personal life, professional life, whatever. Like if you're going through a tough time, who are the folks that are showing up for you in your moment of challenge? And I have to say that I am truly inspired by how the Noble community has come together to support one another during this time. So what do I mean by that? We started a fund and raised money to provide, support for rent, for bill pay, for food, for our Noble families that were deeply impacted by COVID-19. As many of you know, a lot of our families have been at the front line during this pandemic, and it has disproportionately impacted the communities we serve in various ways. And we have distributed $500,000 worth of support to over 400 families, Noble families, to help them during this time. And we've also provided 13,000 Chromebooks to our students who needed the technology. We provided thousands of Wi-Fi hotspots to our students who needed Wi-Fi. I'm really proud of the fact that our food services team hustled to provide meals for not just Noble families, but all families throughout Chicago, for any family that needed it at our campuses. In fact, please spread the word. We're also providing Thanksgiving kits to families, any family throughout Chicago next week, so that our families in Chicago can have a Thanksgiving dinner, and celebrate this moment, even though it's hard. Like make that space and time to celebrate. So there's a lot that's happened, and we're adjusting and trying to be flexible every single day, and also recognizing that, this is hard. We can't expect for there to be 7 hours of in classroom time learning like that was in the past. So we've been trying to be flexible and adaptable with our learning models, recognizing we have the blessing of serving high school students. Oftentimes they're called upon to take care of their younger siblings or, to work. And so we really try to create a model that allows flexibility for our students during this time and all the things, they might be, going through. I've heard several stories of students who have really stepped up during this time as they have to help their families, in need, and are working. And so we're learning as we go and doing everything we can to get through this moment together, because it really truly is taking all of us day by day. Sometimes it feels like hour by hour to get through this moment together.
Thank you so much, CJ, for that detailed response. I think, I was taking a little bit of notes while you were responding, just some key phrases that stood out. And the fact that you said, we are trying to fill everyone's cup. And so that's really powerful. And the fact that families and students, alumni and staff can come to Noble and know that they're supported and that there is a space of community. So that's an amazing feat to say as an organization.
Mm-hmm. Well, and thank you, Lisette, because I know you know the work all too well, because you live it and breathe it every single day, working within, our campuses. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say we've also tried to take care of our staff. And so, we created this staff hardship fund for, because none of us live in a bubble. And so, even though Noble employees have been good, working, getting paid throughout this pandemic, a lot of their partners and, other extended family members that a lot of our people are taking care of, have lost their jobs and needed support. And so we've just tried to come together in community. That's the best we can do during this time.
Definitely. And as a staff, as an alumni, I appreciate it tremendously. So earlier this year, in addition to all of the amazing things and initiatives that Noble is taking on due to the pandemic, earlier this year, you released a statement stating that Noble is committed to become an anti-racist organization. why is this the trajectory that Noble is taking? What work has been done to begin this process, and who is included in this work?
It's a great question. So let me first start with just reiterating what you said, because it's so important. We are becoming. Every time I say becoming now, I think about Michelle Obama. Like we are literally, we're becoming, we're evolving into an anti-racist organization. So what does that mean? And certainly our alums have played a critical role in informing how we can become an anti-racist organization. So, I mean, the reality is, Lisette, is that our education system in the United States of America was built off of racist beliefs. It was built off of racist practices. The reality is that educators, no matter what your intentions are, like I bring like my own biases, whether conscious or not, intentional or not, to work every day. And we have to just name that. We have to name that these things, exist. And, I'll go back to what I talked about in terms of the vision that we came out of with our strategic plan around like positive experiences for our kids and equitable experiences for our kids. I'll go back to just what I've said about filling their cups so that they feel empowered and confident to go out here and disrupt and lead in the world. Like these are the things that I feel like we are directly accountable for that will combat racism, both within our organization, but also in the broader world. And so we have a commitment to do our part as an organization. We have a commitment to interrogate, and this is the work that we're doing to speak to the work, our policies, our practices, to like assess through an anti-Blackness lens, a culturally competent and relevant lens. We have to do everything we can to just create these spaces where our kids can thrive and reach their greatest potential. I live for the day when I can look at a student, a Black male or a Latina or whomever, and like not be able to predict the outcomes of that student. And right now, like if you look at, the outcomes across, different race and genders, like, I mean, they're different. And yeah. And so I aspire like to be able to see everybody succeed regardless of their race, of their gender. And in terms of like what role various folks play, in our process of dismantling racism at Noble, which we've made our goal, we have to be inclusive of the communities that we serve. And I've been very grateful for the time that I've been able to spend with our alumni over the past few months. Lisette, as you know, I've attended a couple of the town halls, and I've sat and I've heard the stories, the good and the bad about like our alums' experiences at Noble, and it's been very informative to my work. There was a DEI listening tour that was completed with our alums, and so I'm reading through this executive summary, and some of this stuff is there's lots of positives, absolutely, and then like there's some stuff that's hard to see, but good for us to see. I remember this was back in like August, reading through the DEI executive summary from our alums, and there being a call out around wanting more diversity for our staff at Noble. And so a lot of alums like reflected on how like it sometimes was challenging when they didn't have someone at their school who looked like them. And we've been working on that. And I'm proud to say that like this academic year, 60% of our staff identify as people of color. And in terms of the staff, instructional staff that we hired for this year, 61% of them identify as people of color. So we are really trying to make moves based on the feedback that, for example, our alums have provided. Another thing that stands out from that executive summary from our alums in August was how they felt like as students, sometimes the policies were enacted in an inequitable way. And so, you know, and I would argue that, you know, whether it's like mindsets and biases that we're addressing through training, through our anti-racist work, or actual like racist policies, we are interrogating all of that. So this is very important feedback. And I could tell you, so be on the lookout that, you know, in January, we'll have a next round of like soliciting and getting feedback from various folks on, you know, what we've heard to date, you know, some of the things I just described and what we're doing, and then just informing where we go. But, you know, we're in phase one. This is very much a foundational building phase. And there's a lot of work to be done there. But, you know, I'm really proud of the fact that we're doing the work.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, CJ. And I want to re-echo your echoing of becoming, because, you know, becoming an anti-racist organization, dismantling racism, it does not happen one day to the next. And it takes reflection and process and incorporating all the stakeholders. And like you said, in the summer, you know, the Noble Alumni Association was able to partner with you and many others for those town halls, as you mentioned. And it's very important, and I'm very extending that gratitude that voices are being heard.
Yeah. And
so thank you so much.
Like, I mean, I'm not going to let you off the hook, even though you're supposed to be interviewing me, but you are on the DEI steering committee, correct?
Yeah,
and
I
like,
am.
And, you know, do you mind sharing kind of like what you've been in the midst of literally just a couple of days ago doing? I know the answer, by the way.
Well, you know, since you know the answer, I'm like, okay, I can share it. Yes, I am on the DEI strategic planning committee, and that's an amazing feat, not only as an employee at Noble, but also as an alumni. And we are finalizing our anti-racist statement, which is so powerful. And I'm excited to share that with everyone in the organization, our students, our families, and our alumni. And so much work has been put into even just the most minute wording. And I think that is an incredible amount of detail really echoes how incredible this work is and how valued these steps that we're taking into becoming an anti-racist organization. So I'm really excited to be part of that journey and that process in multiple avenues. So really excited about it.
Well, thank you for your service, because I know you got a whole noble job. And then for you to be engaging in this way, I mean, just goes to show what we already know, is that you just deeply committed to making us better. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I'm excited. And I know we have a few more minutes with you and I on our own before we open it up to our alumni questions. But, you know, CJ, I'm sure you sometimes are always business, even when it comes to engaging with alumni. And so we want to get to know you better. Everyone's like, dang, we have a woman CEO. Dang, she's a person of color. And we all love that, but we don't know your intimate details and secrets. So I'm going to start kind of poking at that to see.
Okay, well, let's go with the intimate details and secrets.
First and foremost, I got to ask, what is your go-to coffee order at Starbucks?
Oh, okay.
Says a lot about a person. It says a lot about a person.
Yeah. So y'all gonna find out real quick, probably the consistent thread across some of these answers, that I can be pretty bland. I don't know. It's like peaks and troughs, and it depends on the topic. But for coffee, like, I just love like a good cup of coffee with a little bit of cream and a little bit of like brown raw sugar. So I know, boring. I know, you know, people get all kinds of frappuccinos and all this, you know, skinny double. You know what? For me, that takes a little bit too much, like, you know, brain work. So I just usually just get like a grande coffee. And my youngest brother, Justin, he works at Starbucks. So he'd be very disappointed by his response, but not surprised. Every now and then he's able to convince me to kind of go off on a limb and get something. But I'm really excited. It's probably out now. The Christmas blend. It comes out this time of year. I love the Christmas blend. I do.
That is awesome. Short and sweet. Coffee, cream, sugar. I love it.
Yeah.
So in that same vein of thinking about what is your go-to drink, what is your comfort food, especially now that we're going into the holidays and where Thanksgiving and Christmas just evoke all this enormous food and amounts of food. What is your go-to comfort food when you eat it?
Yeah. So I love pizza. Like, just give me like pepperoni, sausage pizza. I also love, love, love fried chicken. I'm a big Harold's
Yes.
fan. So that was like my first love when I first moved to Chicago was Harold's.
Mild sauce.
And I'm telling you, and even though like someone like challenged me the other day and they told me like, oh, well, you know, you still ask for your hot sauce on the side. So you're not a real Chicagoan. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that, you know, apparently you're only a real Chicagoan if you like, you know, just order
Get
your
it
hot
everywhere.
sauce on. I thought I had made it, but I haven't. But it's cool. It's good to be humble. And then I love French fries. And so those are probably like my biggest go-to. Oh, and chocolate chip cookies, because I just ate one before this call. So yeah, I was needing that chocolate chip cookie. Yeah.
Nice. So kind of some sweets, kind of some savories. I'm with you there. Big savory person.
Good, good, good.
So you got your cup of coffee, you got your slice of pizza or your chocolate chip cookies. So now you're sitting at home, pulling up Netflix or any other, you know, platform. What is that favorite go-to movie and why?
So this is where, so, you know, maybe the snacks were exciting, but this is where I go back to being boring real quick. So, so I'll be honest with you, y'all. Like, I don't watch a lot of TV, and I also don't watch a lot of movies. And I thought the pandemic and being at home was going to change that, because I was like, okay, now I get to do all these Netflix things that people have been talking about, and, you know, like be cool for a change when people are talking about like, oh, like, I don't know, Game of Thrones. And I'm like, oh, what is okay.
It's okay. I didn't see it either.
But you know what? It's often, I mean, one thing I've learned is like who you were before, you know, like, you know, the pandemic, you're probably, you know, maybe things have changed a little bit, but, you know, at my core, I'm still the same. So literally, probably the most consistent thing that I watch, like actually on a TV or movie screen or whatever, but on a TV, is 60 Minutes on Sunday. I've been watching it since I was like 8 years old. I think it's great. Like, it's informative, you know. I learned so many things and I like to learn. So now I'm back in the boring camp, but that's okay. Like I said, like I have moments where I could be really cool, and I have moments when I'm like, yeah, actually, I just like 60 Minutes. Now, the funny thing is, thank you for creating the space, Noble, for me to show up as my authentic self, because I did an interview not too long ago, and I don't know what came over me in that interview, but someone asked me the same question, my favorite movie, and I said Pirates of the Caribbean. So it's published out there. But
it's false.
I just felt the need to say something, and I don't know why I did that. So it's out there. I do like that movie series, but yeah.
Well, we know the truth. Thank you for showing your true colors, being comfortable in this space. I really appreciate it. And answering some questions. And so we all know if there's a cup of NST of just plain old coffee, that it's probably yours.
Yep. That's it. I do like to drink that coffee in a pretty cup though. So I got a lot of pretty glasses. I'm a fan of pretty glasses.
Yeah, there's something about a nice mug, you know. So thank you so much, CJ, not only for answering very informative questions about just everything that's going on to keep us alumni informed, but also just sharing a little bit about you and opening up that space. I do want to turn it over to our Q&As that we have been receiving. So I'm going to turn it over to Miriam to share those with us.
Oh, there she is. Okay. Hey.
Hey ladies, thank you so much for the thoughtful answers. I'm really excited that you guys were able to share. This first question is actually for Lisette. And if alumni want to get involved in the Alumni Association Board, can you tell us a little bit more about what that looks like?
Yeah, that's awesome. And I really appreciate that person asking. So thank you. So a few steps. Number one, we actually just sent out kind of a teaser that we are going to be rolling out our application process at the end of December, which is really exciting. And so their applications will be coming out. Also, second, you can connect with us through our email, alumniassociation@nobleschools.org. And so reaching out and saying that exact thing, and we can actually be sending out more information and putting you on our listserv so that you get that application right when it comes out. And additionally, I do want to shout out that we, even in this remote setting, are also having events and connecting on social media. So please follow us on social media and look out for the events that we're going to have and connect with us that way as well.
Great, thank you so much. This next question speaks a little bit more about the changes that are happening at Noble, and our viewers want to know, how will Noble continue to make changes for current students in years to come? And then the second part of that question is, how can Noble alumni continue to be up to date with these current changes that are happening?
Okay, great question. So I'll take a stab at it, Lisette, and then if you have any thoughts, particularly on the alumni like being looped in piece, that'd be great. But yeah, I mean, I'm a big like, we've made a lot of great like changes throughout the organization over the past couple of years, and as a leader, I'm ultimately accountable. I get that, and at the same time, I have to tell people that I can't take much credit, because what I've tried to do is listen to what people are telling me and use that to inform like what changes happen. And so the reason why I bring that up is because as I think about the future and how I aspire for us to continue to evolve, it's really should be grounded in like what we're hearing from the communities we serve. And so, for example, right, this vision statement that we have that came out of our strategic planning process. The last part talks about, yes, like, we're going to, focus on positive experiences, equitable outcomes, supporting our students on the pathway of their choice. And then that last part talks about like leading to 75% of, alums graduating from college. All right. That 75%, that did not come from me. Okay. When we were interviewing parents and alums and students and asking them why, they chose Noble, like the number one answer was because of college and college success. And, it was important for us to kind of see how those numbers played out. And I don't have them exactly in front of me, but I think for like parents, it was like 82% said this. And then for students, it was like 70-some%, because there's so much out here around college being deprioritized and not being like the goal, And so it's just a lot of noise coming from like, all kinds of people, economists and people in higher education and people, all over the place. And it felt so good just to hear from the people we serve, because we do work in service to, students and families. Like, what do you want? And then we create, ideally, and serve ideally based on like what the people we are serving are telling us. So that's just one example. But yeah, as we evolve, I hope we can continue to lean on feedback from students and families. And then in terms of alums, and I wrote down communication. What was the second part of the question? Because I wrote down communication, but why did I write down communication? What was the second part, Miriam?
Yeah, our alum want to know, how are they going to be informed about these changes as they're happening?
Okay, the reason why I wrote down communication is because actually, if I go back to that y'all, I'll be reading these executive summaries. Okay, so I just need to be like, I read these things. I remember, I think it was number 4 in like the DEI alumni listening tour executive summary. It talked about how our alums want better communication, and so like, when I think about all the evolutions and success points and things like that, like, have I done a good job in the past of prioritizing communication to alums? No, I have not. So we got to do a better job, and be leaning on Lisette and other folks to help us do a good job, because we send all kinds of emails to parents and all kinds of emails to students and other folks, but we have to prioritize. We got 17,500 alums, and that was feedback that we received. So yeah, that's top of mind too.
Yeah, and if I can just add a little bit to that, to echo CJ, quoting the executive summary, not only in the DI listening tours, but also the Noble Alumni Association's town hall. That is something that came up, not only vocalized in the town hall itself, but also in our survey responses from alumni. And that is actually something that the Noble Alumni Association has been working on. We have actually been in communication with not only Dee Green and Ide, chiefs in the Noble Network, but also Alan Metz, and just communicating on how we can kind of start creating some type of format for the alumni to really know what has been done, what is going to be done, and when it will be done. So just to keep in mind, along with, to echo what CJ said, we're working alongside Noble in order to really communicate that to alumni, because we definitely hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you both. I think we can all agree that you both are such role models in our community. And the next question is for both of you, in asking, how is it that you guys manage self-doubt, maybe pessimism, some negative thoughts, any of that, if that ever comes through your head? How do you manage that?
Yeah, Lisette, feel free to take it away. I got a whole list.
Well, first, it's real. I do want to acknowledge that, I'm only 27 years old, and sometimes I still feel like I'm not doing enough. And so I do recognize that self-doubt is something that we all face, and we sometimes feel small, even though we're really big and large, and we have so much to offer in all the spaces that we occupy. The first thing that I suggest is surround yourself with your tribe. There are my, friends from college, my coworkers, my partner that I can rely on in saying like, hey, I'm not feeling sure of myself. And they check me real quick. And I really appreciate leaning on them and that support. Two, when you find your passion, I believe that no matter what, you're going to thrive in that. So put yourself in a place where you are truly invested, because even when there might be times where you're not sure to take a right or a left, you know that you're invested no matter where you go. And yeah, so I think those are really the two. And the third is take risk. I think that was my biggest thing this past year of just, even when you doubt yourself, take that first step, because I promise your other foot will follow suit. I promise.
So let's start off by telling her age. I'm not going to do that. I'm 27 years old. I know you were 27 years old. Just know I got a milestone birthday coming up in about 5 months, and it's not 30. So let's just say that. But, I've been on the same journey that Lisette, is going through and has gone through in a lot of different ways in terms of how I deal with negativity. And I'll just highlight one way because, like I said, there are multiple ways things I've learned over the course of my life. And actually, I see it reflected back to me. So I always wear this grateful bracelet. Actually, my mentor gave me this bracelet, African-American woman here in Chicago who, well, I'll tell her age, but I won't say her name. She's 59 years old. And she's just been in my life since I moved here to Chicago 12 years ago, one of my first friends. And I really, and also it relates to something my dad used to say, which is like, no matter what you're going through, you always have something to be grateful for. Like he said that all the time. And I know it's hard. And like, I've definitely had some moments over the past few years going through various personal and professional challenges where I was just like, just close to laid out on the floor, sad, angry, a range of emotions. And sometimes I would just look at this bracelet and I think about my dad, and I was just like, you know what, but think about all the other blessings that you have in your life. And that just kind of turned a switch on for me. And connected to that, like when I'm going through something that's not positive, that's frankly negative, I try and really think about like, this is hard, but like I've gone through hard things and I can do hard things and I can get through hard things. I've done it before. Mm-hmm. And what can I learn from this that will prepare me for the next challenge, or because of just like what lifts my spirit and gives me purpose, like what can I learn from this that's going to help someone else? So every bad thing that I've been through, I feel like I've been able to then use that lesson to help someone else, because there are a lot of people going through a lot of stuff and you just have no idea. And that's why I'm a big believer in like being honest and telling your story, because that story and that honesty might inspire someone to like just persevere one more day. In terms of dealing with self-doubt, oh my God, there's so many moments throughout my life, more so than not, where I have not felt worthy or like I deserve to have a seat at the table, where I felt very small. I've used that word a lot when people have asked me that question. And there are a few things that changed that. One was like just being successful. So like with every success, it's like a building block. For me, it was a building block of building my confidence that, again, I can do this. And that all these, concerns and thoughts I had about like, you know what, I just don't know. Like, no, I did that. And so that built my confidence. But Lisette mentioned this. I think probably one of the most important things is just like surrounding myself with people who would lift me up. I'm telling you, like toxic people and things, this pandemic 2020 is a great time to get those things and those people out of your life. Because, with things being the way they are, oftentimes we're not just like out and about, like engaging with these folks. It's a good time to reflect on your values, and whether the people and things that are in your life are aligned with your values. But like, relationships should be good. They should be uplifting. And I've certainly benefited and built my confidence up by being around people who truly love me and believe in me and push me to be better, and also welcome me based on who I am. So like that matters so much.
Thank you both, CJ and Lisette. Those were incredible answers, and we are just so grateful that you guys were able to share your time with us. To those who participated in the live chat, thank you so much for joining us this evening. There's still more to come.
Thank you all. It was good talking with you.
Guys.